My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 27 years old, born and raised in Portland, Oregon. I work as a project manager at a mid-sized architecture firm downtown. Steel and glass, sharp suits, sharper deadlines. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, The Woman Next Door Knocked at Midnight and Said, I Need You Tonight. It was raining that night, the kind of steady, unrelenting rain Portland does best. The kind that makes the streetlights glow like blurred halos and turns every sound into a secret. I'd just gotten off a 12-hour shift. The firm had landed a city contract, renovating an old waterfront warehouse into luxury lofts, and my boss, Gregory Shaw, had decided I was the man to lead it. You're hungry, Mercer, he'd told me earlier that week, clapping my shoulder with a grip that felt more like ownership than praise. Just don't let your personal life get in the way. He had no idea how ironic that warning would become. I lived in a narrow duplex on Hawthorne Boulevard. Cheap rent, creaky floors, thin walls. The kind of place you rent when you're saving for something bigger, or when you're trying to outrun your father's voice in your head telling you you'll never build anything that lasts. I was halfway through a reheated takeout container when the knock came. 3 slow raps. It was exactly midnight. I remember checking the microwave clock because something about the sound felt deliberate, like it had been timed. I opened the door expecting maybe a drunk neighbor or someone with car trouble. Instead, it was her, Elena. She'd moved in next door about 3 months earlier. Dark hair, sharp cheekbones, eyes that always looked like they were holding back a storm. We'd exchanged polite nods, a few casual conversations about parking spaces and mail mix-ups. Nothing more. But that night, she wasn't wearing her usual cool composure. She was shaking. Rain clung to her coat. Her mascara had smudged slightly, like she'd wiped tears away and regretted it. Daniel, she said, her voice barely steady. I need you tonight. I laughed softly at first, thinking she was joking. That's a hell of a line. She didn't smile. Her hand gripped the doorframe. Please. There was something in her eyes. Fear, yes. But also something rawer. Desperation. Trust. I stepped aside without another word. She walked in slowly, like my living room was foreign territory. I handed her a towel. She didn't use it. Are you in trouble? I asked. Not the kind you can call the police for. That made my stomach tighten. She sat on my couch. I noticed a faint bruise near her wrist. Elena, I started carefully. Did someone hurt you? She hesitated, then shook her head. No, not like that. Silence thickened between us. The rain outside seemed louder. My fiancé came back, she said finally. I blinked. I didn't know you had one. I did. Her laugh was hollow. We broke things off 6 months ago. I moved here to get away. And he just showed up? He says he wants to fix things. She looked at me then, really looked at me. But he doesn't understand what that word means. The bruise on her wrist flashed in my mind again. You're scared of him. She didn't answer. Instead, she asked, Can I stay here tonight? I should have said no. Office policy. Personal boundaries. My father's constant warnings about getting involved in things that weren't mine to fix. But I didn't say no. Yeah, I said. Of course. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days. I made up the couch. She insisted she'd be fine there. We stood awkwardly in the hallway for a moment. Daniel, she said softly. Yeah. Why are you helping me? I didn't have a good answer. So I gave her the honest one. Because you knocked. She studied me like I'd just said something profound. Good night, she whispered. I lay awake in my bedroom listening to every sound. The rain, the hum of the fridge, the subtle shift of her weight in the living room. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But I didn't. The message was short. Stay away from her. A second message followed. You don't know what she's capable of. My pulse hammered. I walked quietly to the living room. Elena was asleep, curled up on the couch like someone who'd finally reached shore after drowning. My phone buzzed again. A photo. It was taken from outside, through my front window, of her, sleeping in my living room. The blood drained from my face. Someone was watching. And suddenly, I wasn't sure whether I'd just let a victim into my home, or invited something far more dangerous. I didn't sleep after that. I turned off every light in the apartment and stood behind the curtain, barely breathing. The street outside looked empty, just rain sliding down pavement, wind pushing wet leaves along the curb. But someone had been there, close enough to take that photo, close enough to see her. I considered waking Elena, calling the police, packing a bag and driving until the gas tank ran dry. Instead, I locked the doors, checked the windows, and sat in the dark like a guard dog who didn't know what he was protecting. Or from whom. By morning, the world looked harmless again. Sunlight filtered in through the blinds. Elena stirred, blinking like someone unsure where she'd landed. "Morning," I said, forcing casual. She gave me a soft, grateful smile. "You didn't have to stay up." I didn't tell her I had. Over coffee, I showed her the messages. She went pale. "That's him," she whispered. "Your fiancé? His name's Marcus." She swallowed. "He's always been intense. Possessive. When I ended things, he didn't accept it." I studied her face. There was fear there. Real fear. But something else too. Something unreadable. "I'm calling the police," I said. "No," she grabbed my arm. "Too fast. Please. That'll just escalate things." That reaction unsettled me more than the texts had. "Elena," he took a picture inside my house. Her eyes darted to the window. "He likes control. If we don't react, he'll get bored." That word wrapped around me like a rope. Work that day was a disaster. Gregory Shaw was already on edge about the city contract. A rival firm had submitted a revised proposal, undercutting us. "We need focus, Daniel," he snapped in the glass conference room. Not distraction. My phone vibrated in my pocket again. Unknown number. Another message. "She lies. She always lies. Ask her about Seattle." I felt a cold trickle down my spine. Seattle. I confronted her that evening. She was sitting cross-legged on my kitchen floor, eating leftover pasta straight from the container. "Did something happen in Seattle?" I asked. Her fork froze midair. "Why?" "Because someone thinks I should ask you." Her jaw tightened. "I lived there with Marcus," she said slowly. "It didn't end well." "How?" She stood, pacing now. "He accused me of cheating, of manipulating him." "He?" She stopped herself. "He what?" Her eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw anger instead of fear. "He called the police on me." "For what?" "For assault." The word hit like a slap. I stepped back instinctively. "I didn't do it," she said quickly. "We were arguing." "He grabbed me. I shoved him. He fell. That's all." "But he filed charges?" "They were dropped." The room felt smaller. I thought about the photo, the messages, the warning. "You don't know what she's capable of." My phone buzzed again. A new photo. This time it wasn't of Elena. It was of me, in the conference room at work, taken through the glass. I looked up sharply, heart racing. There was only one person who had access to both my work schedule and the building's security layouts. Gregory Shaw. The realization came slowly, like a door creaking open in the dark. I drove straight to the office. Gregory was alone, reviewing blueprints. "You've been texting me," I said, skipping all formality. He didn't look surprised. "She ruins men," he said calmly. My stomach dropped. "How do you even know her?" He leaned back. "Because Marcus is my son." Everything tilted. "She manipulated him," Gregory continued. "Bled him dry. When he finally saw through her, she tried to destroy him." "That's not what she said." He smiled thinly. "Of course it's not. And stalking me is supposed to prove your point?" "I'm protecting my family. By threatening mine." His expression hardened. "Walk away, Daniel. Focus on your career. I can make sure you rise here. Or I can make sure you disappear." There it was. The real threat. Not Marcus. Power. Control. Legacy. I left without another word. When I got home, Elena was packing. "He came by," she said quietly. "Marcus. He said your boss won't stop." I felt something inside me settle. Not fear. Not doubt. Clarity. "Then we don't let them," I said. For the first time since that midnight knock, she didn't look fragile. She looked tired. "I never meant to drag you into this," she whispered. "You didn't," I said. I stepped in. And that was the truth. I resigned 2 days later. Gregory called it a mistake. A waste of potential. Maybe it was. But I chose something else. Elena and I moved to a different neighborhood. Filed a harassment report. Forced light into the shadows Gregory preferred to operate in. It wasn't easy. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. Neither does peace. There were days I questioned everything. Nights I lay awake wondering if I'd gambled my future on a woman with secrets. But love isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to stay when doubt whispers the loudest. A year later, Elena and I stood on a cliff overlooking the Oregon coast. Wind whipping her hair across her face. Salt in the air. No shadows nearby. "Why did you really help me that night?" she asked again. I thought about it. About my father, who'd stayed in a loveless marriage out of pride. About Gregory, who valued power over people. About the version of myself who would have shut the door. Because I didn't want to become the kind of man who looks away, I said. She took my hand, and in that moment, I understood something I hadn't before. Danger doesn't always arrive as a villain. Sometimes it arrives as a choice. To protect, to love, to risk. The knock at midnight wasn't just hers. It was mine, and answering it changed everything.